Now let's take a look at butterfly guard. In this DVD, I'm gonna be covering more a defensive position here. First, let's talk about the distance here. I can't be too close to the guy because if I'm here, the guy pushes me and I'm already with my back on the ground, right? I wanna be able to have this scoot here, this distance. So if the guy pushes me, I'm still, you see, in the same position. I can put my head down. While here, I cannot put my head down, right? Another thing, my legs being so far gives me momentum for me to cross my feet fast. My legs being here too close, I can't cross my feet fast. I would have to go here to then cross my feet. So I want to be able to do this at any moment and be able to come on top if I need to. Talking a little bit more about the position, I have to have always my elbows outside of the knees. I can't have my elbow inside because from this position here, if he's going to one side, I'm not defending myself anymore. You see, I'm not able to push him, and my knee is already on the ground. I want to be able to have my knee always up. You see, my knee doesn't go down anymore, and I'm defending here with this, because my hand is not just going to flare out as I'm dead, which here, I don't have any leverage, and this would be hurting me. My knees has to be wide, because if I have my knees close together, if the guy, for an instance, close my knees, he's controlling me now. So I want to be able to control him. You see, and my knees wide, he's not going to be able to push my knee. Push my knee there. My knee has a very good stance here. It feels strong. I'm only going to put my elbow in if I have a control. You see. Then I can have my elbow in. Otherwise, I'm still defending myself. Right distance, right position. Let's go take a look at some techniques. This is my favorite position against bigger opponents. My partner is in my butterfly guard and has control of my gi below the knees. My same side hand grabs behind the elbow and my hand reaches across and deep into his collar. I take my leg out and put the other leg on his knee. In one quick motion, I pull the collar, open the elbow, push the knee, and escape my hip to the outside. Now, I hug his back tight to prevent him from getting his arm back in. I'm now in a good position to start to attack his back and get my hooks in. This time, my partner has the control of my legs and is starting to pass. He doesn't know, but he's actually helping me. I have the collar grip with one hand, and the other hand is gripping behind the elbow. As he continues around, I scoop my hip out and pull down on his collar, and open his elbow to drag him to the mat. I keep my arm straight with my grip in his collar to keep him from posturing up. I continue to spin behind him, reaching over his back to pull myself in tight. I call this the unnoticed choke because many people has fallen asleep without noticing it, including Keshingo during one of the takes.
He ended up too far up. Yeah.
He's left from us since you come.
I'm sorry.
He's
left.
left.
He's left.
He slept?
What that happens?
Once again, I have one grip on his elbow and I'm controlling his opposite collar with my other hand. This time, he tries to pass to the same side as the collar grip, preventing me from doing the first collar drag. As he moves to my side, I lift my elbow high and loop it over the back of his neck. It's important to know that sometimes you have to pull on his elbow to shorten the distance so his head can go underneath your arm. My head starts to spin underneath him until my back is on the ground. I grab around his knee to control his movement, to trap his arm, and to avoid him from rolling. Even if he rolls, I could follow up and get the tap from the top. My partner is gripping my gi below the knees. I grip across his opposite collar and grip behind his elbow to set up the collar drag. He grabs my wrist to try to break my grip. As soon as I see he's moving back, I tuck my leg in and I drive forward, pushing with my grip in his collar. As he starts to fall, I grab and pull his leg behind the knee to sweep him and secure the top position. We're in the same start position as the previous technique, but he breaks my grip in his collar. I'm going to start by grabbing his wrist with the palm up. The other hand is going to grab his belt also with the palm up. I pin his wrist to his hip and move my body underneath him as I pull him to me. Now, with my hook, I sweep him. Notice that my knee stays in the outside at all times and I use my toes of the other foot on the mat to push off and get more leverage in the sweep. I keep control of his wrist as I sweep him and roll over to the top to end with the knee on the belly control. Now we'll be talking about the stand-up passes. First thing I want to have here is the distance. I cannot be too far from him, otherwise he's just going to stand up, right? I don't want to be too close to him, otherwise he's going to grab me. Another important thing here is my stance. I cannot have my legs parallel because he can attack both of my legs, right? If I have my base here, he's only going to be able to attack one, so it's easier for me to defend. Next thing is, if the guy starts on standing up and I have my legs here, I can always put him down back again. But if he starts standing up and my legs are parallel, I need to move my leg here before I start throwing my body. So I need to make sure that my legs are going to be in the perfect stance with the perfect distance. And also with the perfect grips. But for me to adjust my grips here, I need to understand that I can pass his guard just by touching him, right? So this is such a predominant position for the guy on top due to the grips here, because I can pass, but he cannot control me without making a grip, right? So when I make my grips, it's very important that I control by touching and control him. If I control him at the same time or before he make a grip, I'm in a good situation here because I'm making the step first. Just make sure that if he grabs you before you do so, it's very important that you're gonna break the grip to then start attacking. You see here? So we're gonna be doing some techniques now so you guys can understand a little bit more. I want to keep a little distance from my partner to make sure he doesn't hook my legs or make grips on me. I'm going to grip his gi near the ankles, but sometimes, depending on the situation, near his knees. I walk back to use my whole body to get his feet to the mat. When his feet hit the mat, I put all my pressure down on the grips as my hands are in the same line as my shoulders to keep him from moving his feet. Now I step, diving my head on the outside of his hips and break my hips. So my legs come over the top of my other leg and I'm facing towards his feet. All my weight is driving down on my shoulder into his midsection. My right hand will start to control his knee joint so he doesn't escape his hips out. And I'll bring my knee in underneath his leg to reach over both legs to control his hip and move into the side control. This time, my partner is sitting up. I always maintain a safe distance until I'm ready to attack. I grab his gi at the ankle, and the opposite hand reaches in and grabs the back of his collar. I get my weight on his ankle, and I sprawl, going on my toes. I walk around towards the side I have the grip in his collar, always straightening my arm that has the grip on his pants. I continue to circle all the way around towards his head, and keep my head underneath his chin until he falls back. I move to side control to finish. I try the same pass as the previous technique, but this time he keeps following me as I try to move to his side. I use the grip on his ankle to push his foot across my body so my arms are in an X. The weight of my shoulder is on top of him. I can drive forward into him with my knee coming up to block his legs. I release my grips and now I can move to side control. This time, my partner's keeping breaking my grips as I try to control his gi at the ankle. I keep my elbow near my knee as I drive my knee forward under his thigh. This moves my hand with the power of my legs to get the double underhook. I clasp my hands together as I walk forward with my knees together to bring his hips on top of mine. Now I reach around one leg, grab his lapel and pull it, so he doesn't escape his hips back. Notice that all my grips in this move are with my thumb in. The other hand slides down his lapel. This grip prevents him from turtling up. With the top of my chest on his hips, I move forward and to the side to stack my weight on him. I move around to the side to pass his guard and get side control. This is one of the moves I most use. As I go for the double underpass, my partner starts to get control of one of my arms, or I just can't load him on top of me. I immediately lift my opposite knee up and drive it over his leg. The hand on that side moves around to the inside and pushes his knee down as my knee also pins his leg. I load his knee on top of my shoulder and my hand reaches across to grab his lapel with a thumb grip, as deep as possible. My other hand grabs the inside of his knee and I lock my arm as I put all my weight forward on his opposite leg. I straighten my hook out as I pull my other leg out and move to side control. Once again, I get the double underhooks and he attacks one of my arms. I start to execute the pass we just did, but this time he pushes on my head. When his leg comes up, I push down with my shoulder and I smash his leg to the mat. I keep the grip on his bottom leg and collar as I pass to the opposite side and end in side control. Now we're gonna talk about the butterfly passes here. First thing I wanna have is my posture, right? I don't wanna be too high, right, blocking him, because I'm giving him a chance of coming on top. I don't wanna be too low, right? I either wanna be deep on him or halfway, right? So the guy doesn't push me or pull me. Another thing is his head. The head positioning here is what really controls in this situation, when the guy is not underhooking my body or grabbing anything. If his head is below mine, he's controlling me here. If my head is below his, I'm controlling him. Because now he can push me forward, right? And now I can push him forward. I can start passing, right? And he can defend my pass. So I want to have my head, making sure that his head is not too much lower than mine. Otherwise, he's avoiding my passes, right? I want to have my head below his, so I'm in the control of the position. Also, if the guy has an underhook on me, underhook this side here, yeah. I don't want him to be so deep on me. I want to make sure that, I can avoid that by controlling his neck, his lat here, always having some kind of distance. I also don't want him to grab my hand in this position here. If I'm here, I'm in a good situation because it's hard for him to control me there. But if I'm like this, he's already controlling me. And once he controls, he can lock my hand here. He can push to my hip and not have me take it out, right? So I want to make sure that I have the correct posture, my head below his. And in case he's in a better position, like the underhook, that I'm defending my hand and defending his shoulder here, because now I don't have my hand to defend, and he might control my hand over there. We'll see moves now covering both the underhook, right, and the guy with the distance. I start by driving my partner's back to the mat. My knees are forward to trap his legs, and my toes are on the mat. My elbows are tied to his hip. I lift one knee and reach back to grab over the top of his foot, then drop my knee back down. I post my other hand on the mat, with my elbow applying pressure to his knee. My other shoulder has pressure on his ribs. I use my foot to push off the mat on the same side as I'm posting my hand. If his hooks follows me, I give a little kick with my leg at the top, then come back down on the same side I'm trapping his foot. Always landing to the opposite side of your head. My knee drives underneath his legs, and I end in side control. Just like the previous technique, I drive him back to get his back to the mat. This time, he pushes on my head. I bring my head back up and my arm around and under his leg. The inside of my elbow needs to be low across his chin, and I have to grab his belt. I lock my elbow in tight, and I sprawl over his leg onto the opposite side. Now I drive forward with my knees in, under his legs, to take side control. This time my partner is in a good position. He has the underhook and is setting up to sweep me. Immediately, I underhook his other arm and bring my knee between his legs. I use my other elbow to lock down his opposite bicep. With my outside leg, I step out and drive him back to the mat. My hand blocks his knee and I bring my knee up and end in half guard, in good position to pass. This is a very easy but effective way of passing the butterfly. Even though my partner has the underhook deep, and I can't close my elbow down to move him like I did in the previous technique. So, I reach deep across his back, I drop my head down below his chin, and use my head to apply pressure up under his chin. I reach in and control his foot with my arm straight to keep my balance and prevent him from following me. Now I get up on my toes with my feet away from him. I circle around towards his back while I continue to control his foot. I end in side control. This time, my partner is tied to me and I can't get my head below his. I grab his belt and pull his shoulder tied to my armpit. I grab his gi near the ankle, I step up on the same side that I'm grabbing his leg, and on the opposite side, I immediately close my elbow down and over his arm. This starts to make him spin. I straighten the arm to keep him spinning. I keep control of his leg as he spins and end in side control. We're in a neutral position here. The more we are posturing, the more both of us can attack each other. The more we are squatting, the less we can attack. It's harder for us to reach the legs, to throw, because our hips are too far from each other, right? It would be easier here for some like guard pulls, right? But the more we have the hand in the lapel here, as you'll see in some of the moves, the deeper it is, the easiest will be to have the guy make the posture again so we can start attacking. It's very important that I know that if the highest he grabs, the more he's going to control my posture here, right? The more he's the lowest he's grabbing here, the more he can measure the distance, right, of each one's body, because now he's pulling on our upper body here. So at first moment here, I don't want him to grab my leg, because this is very important, because if he grabs my leg, now he's already avoiding me to pull guard. I cannot pull guard anymore, as he's going to take me down, right? So at first moment here, I want to not have him grab me at anything. So I always want to avoid him to grab my collar. My legs are far, right? And I want to be able to grab him first. You see, and I'm still defending here. The moves we'll be doing here, I'm going to let him grab me so we're still in a neutral position, right? And we'll attack from there. Because as a beginner, it's a little bit difficult to manage the control in the stand-up. But as you'll see later on, we'll be more comfortable in the stand-up and move up to better control. I try to prevent him from making grips and controlling me. I stay focused on his eyes and push him a little. So when he reacts by moving towards me, I change levels and shoot in. My head stays tight to his hip to prevent the guillotine. I cup the back of his leg to keep him from sprawling all the way back. I walk my legs in towards him and to the opposite side of my head. I hook the back of his leg with the back of my knee. I use the hook because with a larger opponent, it may be difficult to take him down. I use this hook to bring his leg back and keep his leg trapped. as I drive him back to the mat. Keep your head tight to him to control the position. As my opponent shoots for the double leg, I sprawl back. One hand goes under his shoulder, on the same side of his head, and the other pushes his hips. So when I walk to the side, I can apply pressure on his elbow that is holding my leg. My hands switch sides. The hand in front of his shoulder moves to the other shoulder to get the crossface. The hand pushing his hip starts pulling the other side of his hip. When I get the crossface, I plant my hand on the mat to prevent him from following me. Now I move sideways towards his back. I start with normal grips on his sleeve and lapel. The hand on his sleeve comes up and I elbow the inside of his arm. I drop down with my head to the inside and grab his leg as close to the heel as possible. I make the grip with my wrist and lock my hands together. I pull his leg up and trap it between my thighs. Now I move my grips up his thigh. I start to look up here so he doesn't push my head and break my posture. I walk a little forward to distract him. Quickly, I step back with my outside leg to rotate my whole body to the outside and take him down. He shoots the single leg, and I immediately push his head to the outside. My other hand grabs his belt. I switch the grip on his belt and drive my hips forward. My other hand grabs his gi outside his knee. I step forward, close to his leg, and sit down, pulling on his belt and using my hook between his legs to sweep him. I make a backward roll and try to end in the best position possible. I start by grabbing his opposite lapel, low to open it up. I immediately bring my other hand deep into his lapel and make the grip with the thumb in to prevent the wrist lock. My other hand grip his gi behind the tricep. I move with him when his posture is down. I open my arms up and step forward to get him to lift up. I step deep to his side and immediately use my grips to move his upper body back and slightly to the side. To get the takedown, I sweep my hooking leg as high as possible, keeping my body in one line, like a teeter-totter. As he falls, I maintain control of his arm and keep him on his side. This is a move I have done numerous times during training. It starts just like the Osotogari we just did. But this time, his posture is good and his weight is forward. This prevents me from doing the Osotogari. So I'm going to choose this armbar variation. With his weight coming forward, I fall back to the mat, still controlling his collar and the back of his sleeve. I open my arm and lock my elbow to my side. I bring my knee in so the top of my arm is tied to his armpit. My other leg swings over his head. I keep the grip on the back of his arm and use the other hand to control his wrist and get the armbar. This is a very good takedown to be used in competition. I asked Keishin to demonstrate this technique since it's one of his specialties. We start with normal grips on the collar and sleeve. Keishin steps forward and his other leg follows so his legs are parallel. He drops to his knees to prevent me from putting the hooks in. Then he gets his hips underneath my legs. To initiate the throat, he bows forward and as I flip over the top, he pulls up on my sleeve and postures up. He maintains his grips through the throw. Once again, we start with normal grips. I post my foot on his hip on the same side that I'm gripping his arm. This prevents him from controlling my leg and taking me down. As I sit to the mat, I open my elbows to pull him to me. I remove the foot on his hip and close my guard. This move has made me win many matches when I was younger. I step closer to the side, holding his arm. I post my foot close to his knee to push his leg. I drop down with him, swiveling to the side of the foot posted on his leg. My outside leg pendulums, and my other leg is under his armpit. As my leg swings around his head, I clamp down on his neck to drive him over on his back. I keep control on the back of his arm to apply more pressure, and use the other hand to control his wrist and finish the armbar.